everyone. So today I'm going to talk to you about video games addiction. And I'm just going to start by presenting myself. My name is Hajj and I'm one of Lamsa's ambassadors. So I'm just going to give you guys a few seconds to read the titles and what we're going to attack today. Okay, so let's start. Although it's not yet recognized by the American Medical Association as a diagnosable disorder, video game addiction is a very real problem for many people. In fact, 6 to 15% of all gamers exhibit signs that could be characterized as an addiction. Though this disorder can have significant consequences to those suffering from it, its signs and symptoms can sometimes be very difficult to diagnose. So there are two major types of video games and therefore two major types of video game addictions. Standard video games are generally designed to be played by a single player and involve a clear goal or mission, such as rescuing a princess. So the addiction in these games is often related to completing that mission or beating a high score or a preset standard. The other type of video game addiction is associated with online multiplayer games. So these games are played online with other people and are especially addictive because they generally have no ending. So gamers with this type of addictions enjoy creating and temporarily becoming an online character. So they often build relationship with other online players as an escape from reality. For some, this community may be the place where they feel they're the most accepted. What are the causes of these kinds of addiction? So many different causes factor into video game addiction. So one of the main reasons that video game can become so addictive is that they are designed to be that way. Video game designers, like anyone trying to make profit, are always looking for ways to get more people player than games. So they accomplish this by making a game just challenging enough to keep you coming back for more, but not so hard that the player eventually gives up. So in other words, success for gamers often feels just out of reach. So in this respect, video game addiction is very similar to another more widely recognized disorder, which is gambling. Emotional symptoms. So, as with any other addiction, video games has warning signs. So it's important to know how to recognize these signs. So if you or someone you care about is an avid gamer, these symptoms can be both emotional and physical. So for the emotional symptoms, you can have a feeling of restlessness or irritability when unable to play, preoccupation with thoughts of previous online activity or anticipation of the next online session, lying to friends or family members regarding the amount of time spent playing, and isolation from others in order to spend more time gaming. The physical symptoms. So the physical symptoms can be, like the most recognized one is fatigue, migraines due to intense concentration or eye strain, the carpal tunnel syndrome, which is caused by the overuse of a controller or a computer mouse. So what is actually the carpal tunnel syndrome? It's a common condition that causes pain, numbness, and tingling in the arm. And this condition occurs when one of the major nerves to the hand is damaged. It's called the median nerve. So this nerve will be squeezed and compressed as it travels through the wrist, and it will cause the carpal tunnel syndrome. And also, of course, poor personal hygiene. The short-term effects. So, like any other compulsive disorder, video game addiction can have severe negative consequences. Though most of the symptoms have short-term effect, they can lead to more severe, long repercussions if not addressed properly. So, for example, someone addicted to video games will often avoid sleeping or eating proper meals in order to continue gaming. So, while the short-term effects of this may include hunger and fatigue, it could eventually lead to sleep disorder or diet-related health issues. And similarly, those who isolate themselves from others in order to play video games may miss out on family events, family outings, friends outing, and other events in the short term. But if this continues to be a pattern for a long period of time, they might find themselves without any friends at all. The long-term effects. So other long-term effects of video game addiction to consider are the financial, academic, and occupational consequences involved. So video games and video games equipment can be very expensive, especially when factoring in recurring costs such as the high-speed internet connection required for online multiplayer games. And these games can also be very time-consuming, leaving addicted gamer with less time to focus on their education or career. Self-assessment test. So the most effective self-assessment that can be done is to examine the above list of symptoms associated with video games addiction. So if you find that you or someone you care about exhibits any of these warning signs, it may be a good time to cut back on the amount of time spent gaming. If you are unsure whether the symptoms apply to you, we can help, Lamsa can help, but you can also call a mental health professional to discuss your possible symptoms or to learn about your treatment options. The medication. Treatment for video game addiction can come in many forms, including different types of therapy. Certain medication may be even able to inhibit addictive behavior. So one drug that is known to decrease craving for video game is bupropion. So the drug works in a way that changes the brain's chemistry and helps to decrease craving for video games. So though it has been proven to be fairly effective, this option may not be for everyone. So others may choose to medicate only when absolutely necessary. So for example, someone, if a gamer is suffering from migraines, he may opt to choose only the medication for a headache. Likewise, an addict suffering from sleeplessness may turn to sleeping pills. The medication side effects. So when you take any form of medication, especially when self-medicating, it's very important to read all direction and follow dosage and instruction carefully. So even if you're buying over-the-counter medication, you can have it can result into a dependency, and therefore it should not be taken for long periods, and therefore it should always be recommended by a doctor or a medical professional. So bupropion is often helpful, but it's not for everyone, and some possible side effects include drowsiness, dry mouth, excessive sweating, itching, fever, diarrhea, difficulty with sleep, and also sometimes weight loss. Now, what is the relationship between depression and video games? So due to evident link between video game or internet addiction and depression, it's not surprising that many addicted gamers take antidepressant medication to help with the symptoms. Though most healthcare professionals consider this type of medication to be safe and effective, it also comes with its own set of risks and side effects. One factor to consider before beginning antidepressant medication is that it may be difficult to stop taking it. It is common to experience withdrawal symptoms, including anxiety, irritability, nausea, and dizziness. And sometimes, in more serious cases, it's possible to experience depression as a symptom of withdrawal from the medication. So this depression can be even more severe than the original depression, leading to the patient to believe that the illness has returned. Another recent studies concerning the ties between video game addiction and depression showed an alarming correlation between the two. And if you suffer from both conditions, it's imperative to seek help at a treatment facility that can address both issues. So if you attempt to treat the video game addiction without treating the depression, the addiction is more likely to occur. The medication overdose. According to the National Safety Council, unintentional overdose is responsible for more deaths among Americans and Canadians between the age of 35 and 54 years old than motor vehicle crashes. So when taking any medication for addiction or any other problem, it's important to take only the amount prescribed. And if you suspect possible overdose, it's important to act quickly by calling 911. Dual diagnosis. So the relationship now between video game addiction and substance abuse. Because video game addiction has been linked to depression, sleeplessness, and an overall lack of concern for one's own health, it's not surprising that substance abuse is also a problem for many gamers suffering from this compulsive disorder. So for those suffering from video game addiction as well as some substance abuse, proper treatment is imperative to recovery. And if you or someone you know is currently suffering from one or both of this disorder, seek professional guidance immediately. Seeking help. Recovery is not always easy, but it's achievable. So video game addiction can be just as dangerous as any other addiction problem and should be treated as such. And the first step in overcoming dependency is being able to recognize that it exists. And if you're someone you know exhibits any of the symptoms I have talked to about in the previous slide, please don't hesitate to find help treating the video game addiction by entering, for example, Lamsa's website and chatting with us, with one of the ambassadors, or calling us, or calling a professional, a doctor or a professional healthcare. So this is a summary of the important key point I talked about today. And you can screenshot it and take your time to read it at home. And this was all for today. Thank you so much. And I'm glad to answer any questions you guys might have. Thank you so much.